Hi guys, welcome to this session in Microsoft Project. In this module, I want to show you a couple of ways that you can create new tables. So on the screen, I've got some data, a small little task list, and I am currently in the entry table. If I click on the View tab, go to Tables, I'm in the entry table. But you can see here, I've got some custom tables that I've already created. That's what I want to show you. And there are two ways of doing that. One, I can add a few extra columns and then save the table. Another one is to create it from scratch. So I'm going to do both of those. So rather than changing the entry table and completely messing it up, what I tend to do is save this as a table and then add the columns that I want to be in that table. Because one of the restrictions in Project is that there are so many columns, it's quite hard sometimes to decide which ones are best for you. So let's just do that. So up to Tables, Save Fields as a Table. So I'll click on that. I'll just call it, I'll name it Saxo, which is my nickname. And now I've created a new table and it will sit with the rest in here. It's got a tick next to it, so that's what this table is. It's no longer the entry table. So if I add columns to this, it's not going to mess up the default tables, which is something I recommend you do. So now what do I want to do? I want to add a few columns. So if I just move this across a little bit, this dividing line between the Gantt chart and the table, add new columns. So I could remove some of these columns. I don't want to remove any of these. I'm just going to I'll add percentage complete, just so you can see how that works. And then I'll move across and add another column. I'll add actual cost. Actual cost, that one. And then you've got the two extra columns there, and you can just bring those in. Like so. Maybe I don't want the resources, so I'll delete that one off. And then in this table, I've got the actual percentage complete and the actual cost. I probably don't even need the predecessors on this one. Delete that one off. It's not actually deleting it, it's just hiding it. And I will add one other. I'll just go back, variation at completion. So you can see there's some figures in there already. I'll just bring that in. So this is now the table called Saxo. And if I want to flick back to a different table, I'll go in there, say the entry table. The entry table is not messed up at default. If I go back in there and select Saxo again, it's remembered the columns that I've added, and that is probably the quickest and best way to create a table. However, if you so wish, you can go and do it like this. If I go to Tables and down the bottom to More Tables, in here you've got the option of going New, and then you can start from this one. So I'll call this Bob, because I've already used my name. And then you're basically adding the tables from this list. So I'll go for ID first, and then name, just type N, it'll give you the name. You've got the option of setting a column width. So for the name, I might go maybe 20 characters. You've got it title, that wants to be probably left, and headers, I'll leave everything else default. So name, and then I will do duration like that. That's just going to be a number, so that'll be okay. And then we'll have percent complete, and we'll do actual cost again. That'll do. And then we'll do VAC. So we're doing the same sort of field so you can see it. So you need to adjust some of this, but that's a table. Now, showing menu means it's in the list. I'll tick that. So Bob will be in the menu. So I'll click OK to that, and then apply. And then that has now applied that column, those columns should I say, to this table. If I go back up to tables, drop this little arrow down, I have Bob, I have the one I did earlier, Saxo, and then I've got all my default tables listed here. Now if you want to make sure this table or these tables are available to other projects, you have to do this. You have to go into More Tables, into Organizer, and then they're the tables. You've got different views there. You've got tables. You click on tables. There's Bob. You would copy it across into this, and same with the other ones. So they're available in the global template. So when you create a new project file, they will appear. Likewise, if you don't want them, you click on them and you delete them out, so it's not there. I'm just going to come off this. Before I come off this, you've got the same with views, reports, modules, tables, filters. If you don't want the filters, you can get rid of them. Calendars, if you've created any calendars, they're the default ones. Maps, any maps, and custom fields that you might have created. If you want those in other tables, you'll have to copy them across. And then you've got groups there if you've created any groups, which is usually in resources. I'll just come out of that and I'll close this down. There is actually another way of getting a table into project. You're not actually creating the table as I've shown you already. You're basically importing data from maybe Excel or another source. So I just want to show you that one to finish off with. You can actually copy and paste things from Excel into project, and then you will get a start point and you can manipulate the data in project. But you can also go through the wizard. If you go File, Open, and then browse for the file that you want to open. So the file I want to open is called raw data and it is actually in this folder, but you can't see it because this is looking for project files. But if I change that to all files, you will see raw data. That's the one. So I'll open that, and then you step through the wizard and it will allow you to change things or add things as you come through this wizard. So I'll click on next, and it's asking me, do I want to create a new map or use an existing map? This is the first time I'm doing it, so I'm going to use a new map. Go next. As a new project, that's what I want. So I'll go next. And then basically, I only want tasks come in. If I had resources and things like that and assignments on different sheets, I could bring those in as well. But I'm just going to bring tasks in. It's just a straightforward list. And then when I come to this stage, I basically have to select the sheet that I want to use, which is that one. And then it comes in with lots of different bits and bobs of information. So where it's got company, you need to select what you want. I'm going to put name there. So that's going to be the name. And then start date. So start and then finish. And then if you don't want any of these columns, which I don't, I could have got rid of them in Excel, obviously. But if I don't want them here, I can just delete them off. So I'm just going to get rid of all these other ones. I don't really need them. I just need the list. And then I follow this through. Next. It asks me, do I want to save this map? If I'm going to do this over and over again, perhaps I do want to save that. And maybe I could create a macro then to run this process. You can also do this process the other way. You can send things into Excel from project. But we're talking about creating tables. So if I click on finish, it should create a table like this. So it's created a table, basically telling me there that the dates are in the past, 2023, 2024, so I know that. But there's a list of items that were in that Excel file. What I need to do is on this, is I need to scroll to tasks so you can see some of the actual Gantt chart information. So if I make this a bit smaller, you can see that there's the task lists are there. You can see them there. So that's another way of bringing data into project straight from Excel using the wizard. But like I've already said, I could copy and paste it as well. But whether it would all come in the right order is a different question. So hopefully that is of use. Thank you for watching this video. I'll catch you on the next one.